Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, and I believe that the right book at the right time can change lives, and that all readers should read children's literature, especially adults. So that's what we do here on the KidLit Love podcast. We celebrate all things children's literature: picture books, early readers, middle grade, and young adult novels for readers of all ages. In each episode, we'll talk with children's literature authors and discuss their books, their hopes, their dreams for readers, their writing process, and much, much more. Whether you're an adult reading to their inner child or connecting the young readers in your life with fantastic books, you've come to the right place. So grab a notebook to build your TBR, and let's get to today's episode of KidLit Love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the KidLit Love podcast. I'm Stephanie Affinito, your KidLit loving host, inviting you back to another bookish conversation with a children's literature author. Today, I'm talking with Scott Magoon. Scott is the illustrator of several acclaimed picture books, including the New York Times best-selling Rescue and Jessica, A Life-Changing Friendship by Jessica Kensky and Patrick Downs, the Misunderstood Shark series by Amy Dykman, and the Spoon series by Amy Krauss Rosenthal. He is also the author and the illustrator of Linus the Little Yellow Pencil, Breathe, and The Boy Who Cried Bigfoot. He's here today to talk about his newest release, There's No Place Like Gnome'S, a whimsical and heartfelt picture book that celebrates community, resilience, and making space for others, even when the world is changing. It's an incredible book that I loved, and I can't wait to talk with him all about it. So let's get right to the episode. Scott, welcome to KidLit Love. I am so glad you're here today.
Oh, good morning, Stephanie. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes, I am looking forward to our conversation. And while I did drop a couple of titles in the introduction today, there are about 40 I could have said. So I would love for you to start there. Tell us a bit about your journey through children's literature and all of those wonderful titles.
Sure, yeah, and thanks for that lovely intro. That was very complete and a nice trip down memory lane. And you're right, there have been about 40 books in total. Most of those were illustrated by me over the years for many, many wonderful authors. I've been so fortunate. You mentioned Amy Cross Rosenthal, Eric Litwin's in the mix, Amy Dykman's in the mix, Carol LaRose in the mix. I mean, there's just been, I could go on and on, but I've just been so fortunate over the years to work with various wonderful authors, mostly as an illustrator. I have had some success as an author illustrator as well, an author-strator, as they are sometimes called, or an illustrator. I've
I have not heard either of those. I am jotting those down. Those are fun.
I can't claim credit for author-strator. I think David Bedrecki coined that, but illustrator might be mine. I don't know. I don't want to claim too much credit. And it all started way back when I was back in the early 2000s, 2006, 2005, 2000, I think it started 2002, when I was a book designer at Candlewick Press and working there when they were in Cambridge, Mass. And it was one time Carol LaRoe, an editor, now author herself in her own right, uh, approached me and said, Scott, do you know any illustrators? I've got a book signed up with Harcourt, and I would love to find an illustrator. Do you know any that might work for this manuscript I wrote? And in my designer capacity, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, let me think about that over the weekend. This is a very common thing for editors to reach out to designers like me at Candlewick to sort of pick our brain and say, do you have anybody in mind? But as the weekend went on, I started thinking, well, that was unusual that she would ask me for someone for her own. Wait a minute. Was she asking me if I wanted to draw her? So I got to, because she knew that I loved to draw and I had done a bunch of doodles here and there that she had seen. So I kind of broached it with her on the following week. And I said, would you ever want to see me come up with something for your manuscript? And she's like, I would be flattered. I would love that. So long story short, I did. I sent them the sketches to Kara. She loved them. We sent them on to Harcourt. They loved them. It became my very first book called Ugly Fish that she wrote. And it's a fantastic book about bullying and not being a bully and that there's always a bigger fish and nice little surprise ending. Although I might I might have just spoiled it. But it was I couldn't think of a better way to kind of kick off my career because the manuscript itself is just, first of all, I love her sense of humor. I love her sensibilities. I love the message. Um, and it was just a perfect send off for me into this industry because it's got just the right amount of humor, just the right amount of snark. It's got some heart. Its heart's in the right place, I should say. So that was kind of the beginning back in 2006, 2007, I think is when that book came out. And the rest is kind of mystery. I don't know how I've continued on in this biz, but so far, so good. And it continues on. I'm working on a bunch of new books at the moment and couldn't be happier about it. I've since left my full-time gig, obviously, at Candlewick Press. I went on to Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, where I was the art director for, I think, 12 years, 13 years. And it's been 10 years now since I've been on my own doing this full-time from the comfort of my studio, which I'm in now at the moment. I know that listeners can't see, but that's where I am at the moment, working on some new books now and just loving it. It's been awesome. I do school visits, so I get out of the studio that way. Had a lovely in-person last week, a virtual this week with a school in Chicago. So I do get out. I get to the library a lot, a couple times a week too. I'm working the library. I work digitally, so I'm able to work on my iPad in the local libraries. So that gets me out of here. I'm an empty nester now. My wife and I are recent empty nesters. We used to have boys kind of in and out of here all day long during the school day, once they were home, and it added a lot of life and movement and vigor to the house. But now that they're off on college, it's really quiet,
Yes.
really quiet here. So it's been important for me to get to the library or a cafe and just kind of soak up that other person, other people energy. And that's been good. That's been a good change. But yeah, 10 years, I can't believe it. It's been a nice little moment to mark. I'm very fortunate to be able to do this, do what I do full time.
I could so relate to everything you just said, from working at home, like working in my basement, always in front of a computer ever since COVID, where much of the landscape of my work has changed as well. And three kids who are now in college
Oh
and
man,
redefining what life looks like, what getting out of the house looks like. Everybody's home at the moment at the time of recording, and it is the best feeling in the world.
absolutely, absolutely. Same here. Recently, they both just come home from their respective schools. One has actually quickly gotten a sort of part-time job. He's substitute teaching for a local middle school. Our school has this program where they'll invite seniors back to kind of fill in during the holiday season and at the end of the school year. So he's kind of doing that, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And my other son is about to start his new job too today. So it's like a nice little window
Wow.
for them to kind of refill the coffers before they head back
Yes.
to school in January. But you're right; it's such a wonderful feeling. The house feels alive again, and not that it doesn't when they're not here, but just you know what I'm saying. It's much
I
more
do.
vigor and energy and
Yeah.
thumping and clumping and messes, and it's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
just it's reinvigorating for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do appreciate the ambiance of a library or a bookstore to get the juices flowing too.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, it's or a cafe for that matter. Just the
Yeah.
background noise and the smells, the sights, the music that's on maybe. But the library is definitely where it's at for me. Just much more able to focus and I have a favorite spot and I'm in the stacks. Nice windows, so it's been really nice change of pace.
Yeah. Oh, so the book we're here talking about today, oh, I can't wait to talk about it.
Oh,
I
gee.
I loved it. I
Thank
loved it,
you.
and I'm so glad I get to pick your brain as both the author and the illustrator,
Yeah.
because combined is where the beauty is in the picture book. So I'd love for us to dive a bit into your newest book and have you tell listeners a little bit about it and where the inspiration, you know, came from. I imagine 40-ish books. That's a lot of inspiration. So where's the inspiration from this most recent one?
Oh, the inspiration came from my own backyard, quite literally and figuratively. About 2 years ago, I looked out into my backyard and saw my usual scene. There's a garden gnome back there. You can kind of see where this is going. And
Mhm.
there's a shed in my backyard as well, not far from where the garden gnome stands watch over the vegetation in our backyard garden as it is. And then one day I look out and I see two baby foxes kind of emerging from underneath the shed back there, our little garden shed, tool shed, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, man, alive. And I look over and I see the gnome, and I'm like, what is he running a hotel for animals back there? Like, this is ridiculous because we've had woodchucks back there, we've had skunks, the whole gamut of small woodland creatures. Excuse me. And so come to find out 2 days later, I look out again and there's two more foxes. So we had a total of four
Wow.
kits or four baby foxes out there, and they were completely adorable, completely cute, just frolicking and playing like much like little puppies would if they were together. And so very sweet, and just left me with a good feeling for the most part. Of course, I didn't want them to stay there, and so I was a little concerned about that, having wild animals in the backyard, but especially foxes. But they went on and moved on within a few days, and I've since sort of repaired the hole underneath the sheds to keep for further infractions or invasions of animals coming in. But that was enough to see the sort of gnome back there and have his little hotel. And one thing led to another. It led me to, looking into why we were having these animals kind of coming into the backyard. I mean, in addition to my wide open under shed area, we had houses being built nearby in the woods, and I think that sort of disrupted their habitat. I did a little more research on this as I was writing, and I found a little fun fact that the Earth lost over 9 million soccer fields worth of forest in 2022 alone. 9 million soccer
Oh
fields. Now,
my
that's not to say that
God.
we built 9 million soccer fields, but that was that amount of land that was turned over for human use. And it just, it begs the question, what are the animals supposed to do? So that all kind of led me to write the book and have a story about this garden gnome. I mean, he's not your I could tell you a bit about the plot if you want to hear about. I mean, I
Yes.
know you've read
Yes.
it.
No
Yeah.
spoilers, of course, but yes,
Okay.
a little
All right.
bit.
Well, I won't give too much away, but yeah, the garden gnome is not your typical garden variety garden gnome. He runs this hidden woodland hotel for small forest creatures where he fluffs pillows and files vinyl records and feeds the fountain fish. Life is pretty good for gnome until the forest disappears. Humans cut it down as a great scene of, just this forest deforestation. And animals of all sizes show up at his hotel with nowhere else to go. And so reluctantly, Gnome opens his doors. He's worried about the uh, apex predators eating the smaller creatures,
Yeah.
but eventually he relents, except to the birds.
I would say, except the
Yeah,
birds.
except the birds. He's very concerned about the mess that they make, especially on the roof of his hotel. But when an environmental disaster hits, and yes, there is a sort of climate change angle a little bit to this, a little bit
Mhm.
in the story, the hotel is wiped out, destroyed, unfortunately. And it's an unexpected visitor that helps Gnome rediscover what truly makes a place feel like home. And there's a little bit of a magical element in the story too, which I loved to introduce into a picture book. I think there needs to be here and there. It doesn't have to be all the time, but more magic in picture books, more sort of magical realism, even just stuff that happens that drives the plot forward, makes us wonder, stands for some real life magic that we can, as people, can impart. Planting a seed is a little bit of a magical thing, I think. And ultimately, the book kind of explores themes of inclusion. I don't want to give too much away. Community, caring for the environment, and I just want young readers to kind of enjoy the drawings and take with them a hopeful message that even the smallest acorn, even though it's not magical in the figurative sense, can grow something mighty, can help the earth, help your neighborhood, help your community.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what most struck me as I got to the last page was how you were able to do all of those things, yet in a very fun, whimsical,
Thanks.
really engaging way. Because, at face value, it is a fun story about a gnome who runs an underground hotel for animals, which is just going to get kids, excited and leaning into the page. But the way the plot unfolds, as you mentioned, there are themes that come up. The idea and issues of climate change is there. That's why the animals need a home.
Right.
But then that idea of community, of everybody being welcome, of there always being hope, you manage to wrap that really wonderful, whimsical plot with these beautiful themes that kids and adults, I think, need more than ever right now in this
Thank you.
moment.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think there was a lot going on in the story, but I hope that, and it's nice to hear that you think it does. I hope they all kind of blend in and kind of a little bit of a melting pot, and it's just a
Yeah.
nice little stew of these different themes. Yeah, it's the book is about belonging. It's like how, a home really isn't a place you own. It's a place you look after and care for. We just kind of hand it off to people who stay and come through. I mean, even a house. I mean, this house has been owned by many people before me that I'm in, and many people will hopefully care for it after I'm gone. And through Noam and his hotel, the story kind of celebrates kindness, obviously community, and just making space for someone and welcoming someone in is such a brave thing that anyone can do if you have the heart and the space and the opportunity. So I think in this day and age too, I think that's another thing I wanted to kind of impart with this book is just open your hearts and homes and if not literally, then figuratively, and just be open to change and people kind of coming through into your life that need help and helping them wherever you can.
Mhm. And a little magic always helps. As you
Yes,
mentioned, it helps in picture books, it helps in real life, it just helps
doesn't it?
everything.
I so agree. And I was worried. I try not to keep it too much of a plot device, the magic. I really tried to kind of connect it. Okay, I'll come out and say it. There are elves in this. Um,
It
but there's a gnome too, so I feel like it's okay. I feel like it's part of the
is.
universe.
Yep.
I hope by including magic, it doesn't feel like it's forced. It feels kind of like a natural extension of the gnome nomenclature, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
feels entirely real and exactly as the world should be,
Okay.
quite frankly.
Okay. Right? Oh, I agree. I agree. Thanks for saying that.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, as the author and the illustrator, I'm really curious about your process. We know where the idea came from in your
Yeah.
backyard. How do you work? Do you start with the seed of the idea and move to the words and then grow the pictures? Does the scene come in your head? I'd love to know, or is it like a
Yeah.
ping pong ball, just back and forth?
Right, right. No, I love that you've worked in the seed and the growing and all of this stuff. It's very gnome adjacent. Well done, well connected. Yeah, it's gosh, I start this book obviously started with the germ of the idea in the backyard. And then I just started writing. I don't always start with writing. Sometimes I'll start with illustrations. The Boy Who Cried Bigfoot started as I would love to do a Bigfoot. Here's my Bigfoot drawing. How do I make a story out of this now? But this book began as a real life happenstance. So lots of writing and editing. My agent at the time, Paul Rodin, helped me shape it a little bit. And we got it ready to send it out, a couple of years ago now. But in terms of the illustration, I mean, that is all done. I typically work completely digitally now on my iPad Pro, and using Procreate. I love it. It's so practical. It lets you kind of uh, create different versions, save different versions, undo, redo. You can watch time-lapse replays of your drawings to kind of see, to remind you how to draw a character. It's just a super duper tool for anyone working on a deadline because it's really easy to edit and really easy to revise. So I love working digitally. Have most of my career. I mean, I still draw traditionally with pen and ink. We'll scan that in and then color the line, but for the most part, the color is all digital. And I do strive to make it look like traditional media watercolor, gouache,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Croquill pen, still strive for that because I love that look. It's just a soft, organic look that I go for. The tools have improved tremendously over the past 10, 15 years. I started with Photoshop and it's in a sort of, I mean, it's the name itself gives it away. It's a photo editing app and wasn't really intended to be a drawing app.
Yeah.
It has, of course, over the years become that, and it does it very well. But Procreate started from the ground up as a drawing app. It's on a pad that you can take wherever you go. Photoshop, you tend to be wedded to a laptop, a desktop, a
Mhm.
Wacom tablet to get as your input device. With the iPad, it's all kind of one unit, and you're using, the Apple Pencil to draw right on the screen, and it feels very natural. Wacom tablets are sort of iPads. For those of you who don't know,
I was just going to say, please
yeah,
describe that very
yeah,
interesting sounding thing that you
yes,
just said.
yes. Wacom, it's Wacom, and it's this amazing company that makes these drawing tablets that hook into laptops and desktop computers. The best ones are called the Cintiq, and they're essentially giant iPads that you can plug into your Mac or PC, and you draw right on the screen. So it's very intuitive. But again, you're kind of tied to the desk. Uh, so what I love is what I mentioned before, being able to go out and work at the library, or
Mhm.
if I was, back in the day when I was waiting to pick up my boys from school, I could be doodling in the car, waiting for them. I love being outside of the studio and being able to work remotely.
Mhm.
So that's kind of a little bit of how I start the process. Sketching on the iPad, I send that into the publisher. They have usually wonderful feedback. Anika Kalia and her team at Viking offered me some wonderful feedback for how to improve and simplify and clarify some of the drawings that I have because there's some tricky moments that when all the animals are coming into the hotel that it was very chaotic the way I had it at first, but Opal Rowingshire, the designer at Viking, really helped shape and simplify some of those moments when all the animals are kind of coming in. So there's a great deal of the process with the publisher too. It's not just me sitting, with my iPad deciding, making all the decisions. It is a collaborative team effort, and for which I am profoundly grateful and will always seek out because we are better when we work together. Just like the team, just like the book sort of suggests, community is where it's at. So I love it. I mean, I'll get comments back and be like, "Oh my God, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to do this?" And I sort of freak out for about a day, but then it sort of cools down, and it boils away all of that sort of anxiety from me anyway, and I'm able to see it with much clearer and thoughtful eyes once that sort of initial panic sets in.
Yeah.
And so that's, a lot of back and forth, a lot of drawing on the iPad, a lot of revisions, but it's wonderful. I wouldn't change a thing. I feel like the past few books have just gone so well with them, with Viking, and they've just been a wonderful team to work with and a big part of the process. So shout out to them.
Tell me about the color palette.
Yeah.
There's just something beautiful about
Oh,
the color
thanks.
palette from beginning to end. You can, I know there's probably a whole lot of science behind it, but I feel like the colors just make you feel, certain ways on the page combined with some
Yeah.
of the expressions that you
Mm.
have on the animals' faces. Is that something that just kind of comes to you that evolves throughout the process, or you just kind of see?
That's a great question. It's part of the process. It evolves. I have an idea of what I want to do when I start.
Mhm.
And it's usually the past couple books I've used pretty limited color palettes. And it's a challenging thing, but I think the ultimate outcome is a far more integrated with itself look. Hard to describe without visuals, but I try to pick very minimal color palettes. I use that, oh gosh, I forget the numbers. It's like 60, 20, 20, I think. You use 60% of one sort of color family, and then you use
Oh,
20% of another, and then either, 20% another, or 10% of another. The whole idea is that you have a primary color family, be it reds or blues, and then you might have, the a smaller percentage of oranges that complement the blues, but they pop against the blue. And so the idea is that, and this isn't true for every spread, but the idea is that on most spreads you have a very complementary, not complex color palette, and that's kind of what I used here. Is that sort of 60, 20, uh, 10, 10 color palette idea, except for the pages like the one where Noam is sitting in his hotel after the storm, and it's all these sort of blues and grays,
Mhm.
and that is meant to, to your point, to suggest an emotion, to suggest a feeling. Whereas the other spreads are, it's broad daylight, and we're outside with all these different animals and their colored pelts and fur and skins and then vegetation. So that needs a little more of a broad stroke palette. But when we're trying to evoke an emotion, yeah, try to keep it very limited palette, um, especially with the sadness. If it's a happy moment, like the one at the dance party, that's a little bit more dance party. I just cracked myself. The dance party at the end. Yes, there is a dance party at the end. Um, that's fairly minimal too, but bright pops of color that sort of compensate, that sort of push against the nighttime scene. So that's another way around it too. Just have minimal palettes, but very, maybe 80% of a color, but 20% of one other color. So, or 5%, 5%, 5, you know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
a big proponent of the percentage of colors used in a particular palette.
Yeah.
It really makes I find it to be very some artists I'm sure will find that very constricting. I find it very freeing because I can focus on the mechanics and the composition and um and the confidence I have going forward using that formula for certain palettes is very freeing. So
Mm.
if that I hope that'll make sense. I'm
It
just
did.
going off on the colors, but thank you. Yeah, good
No, it
question.
did. And that's what I hoped you would talk about. Conversations like these, this exact one about colors and you checking that the math was right in your head are
Yeah.
exactly what makes me appreciate just how much work, right?
Oh,
How much thinking and effort goes into these little gifts that are just plopped
right.
into our hands to enjoy. And so I love that you went there and
Okay.
gave
All
us
right.
that perspective. It just makes it so much more, it makes me so much more appreciative
Oh
of
my
the end
gosh.
result in my hands.
It's like anything that involves a process or a great deal of time, any kind of project, you're making so many micro decisions, macro decisions, consciously, unconsciously, you'll undo a decision and go over the previous decision. So
Yeah.
it's like making picture books, drawing picture books is like any almost any other project. It's just, instead of a pickaxe, you're using a pencil. It's just
Yeah.
it's lots of decisions to be made. Color is one of them, and anything I can do to make it simpler, like that, the color recipes, the color proportions is welcome.
Hmm. Yeah, the end result is quite beautiful for the reader.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. I hope so. I hope so.
So as you think of this book going out into the world, getting into kids' hands, what is your hope for the book or for your hope for readers who get to read it?
Oh wow, yeah, good question. Oh gosh, well, I mean, with all of my books, I've always had a feeling that I want to leave a sense of hope that things are going to be better. But for this book in particular, and this just doesn't go for kids. This is for adults too. But for this book, belonging a community doesn't come from being the biggest or the best or the fastest or being an apex predator, but creating a place where everyone feels welcome. And that is something that Noam does. By the end of the book, he's you know pushes against birds and isn't sure if everyone should stay at the hotel. But by the end, because he feels like he knows now what it is to be without a home, he changes and opens his heart. I would wish for everyone, myself included, to have those moments of realization where it's like, oh my goodness, I need to change for the better. I need to be a bigger person for one reason or another. I, of course, am always trying to improve myself and be more gnome-like in that regard. Um, what else? Yeah, Gnome doesn't try to fix anyone. He kind of creates a place where, you know, where the characters can be themselves. I think that that's something too. I think that the bear character kind of steps up and says, you know, we're not gonna eat your guests. You know, he promises his other guests that we're gonna be on our best behavior. And that's I think that's a great message for kids and adults too, that you know, just be yourself, but try to be good too. That's something I'm trying to impart. I don't know. I think that's probably those are the big ones. I think that you know, just creating a place where others feel welcome is it can be a hotel, it can be a classroom, it can be your own home, it can be a school. I tried to, I mean, obviously this is a book about a hotel, but I'm trying to sort of suggest that you open your heart, open your space, and you know, be there for someone or someone's.
Yeah. Really no better lesson that we need right now. I think it's the adults, kids, every person in between. This book has a message for all
Yeah.
of us.
Thank you. I'm glad I came through. That's exactly right. Yeah.
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 So can you give us a sneak peek perhaps on other things that you're working on that you're
Sure.
adding to the
Yeah.
books?
Yeah. I know there's, viewers can't see this, but I've got a new book coming out I'm sorry, in July called The Bats on the Bus. And it's by the great Allison Jackson. And it's sort of it's a Halloween book. And it's a take on the wheels on the bus. So the wheels on the bus go round and round. This is a Halloween version of that. And
Oh,
instead of the various stops that the bus will make, it's stopping to pick up ghosts, goblins, vampires, witches, giants, all of the fun Halloween, you know, ne'er-do-wells and characters that we have come to love so much, the usual suspects of Halloween. And it's wonderful. I think it's going to be hopefully it's going to be a new Halloween go-to read aloud. And it's got I hope I've come up with some really appealing characters that will help Allison's wonderful text. That will be out in July of 2026. That's with Christy Ottaviano Books at Little Brown. And they've just done a fantastic job kind of pulling it all together. So shout out to them. Thank you, Christy and her team. So that's coming out, yeah,
I
in
know they can't see it, but the cover is, I love
oh
the,
thanks. Oh thanks. Yeah, it's got a big
yeah.
bus with all the characters kind of waving at the camera. And had fun with the title type as well. I'm also working on a book right now called Nighty Night. So it's nighty like the usual spelling, but Knight, like a sh knight in shining armor. And that's by Caroline Perry, and that's with Simon and Schuster. And it's really about this knight who, after a hard day of knighting, you know, banishing wizards and teaching his squires, he just wants a good night's sleep. But various goings on and hijinks in the castle keep him awake and keep him from finding a slumber. So, for example, a goblin spills the chamber pots, and the princess has a pillow fight, and the prince has lost a tooth, and a dragon appears at the end that he thinks he has to sort of fend off. Lots of hijinks, lots of sort of nice medieval castle scenery that I've been able to sink my teeth into. It's been a joy working on that. So thank you, Simon and Schuster, for that opportunity. I'm about three-quarters of the way done with my first round of final art. So that's kind of really forefront of my mind right now. And then I'll be working on a couple other books. I can't really talk about those yet, but those are kind of the two that are right on the radar at the moment that I can tell you about.
Well, we can't wait. It's you commented earlier of like going back to the beginning in that first book and then the 10 years of being on your own with this, and
Yeah.
your library sessions are very effective, Scott.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. I will keep going then. I will keep
Yes.
going. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Where is the best place for listeners to find you online so that they can keep track of all of
Yeah.
these that might come?
Yeah, scottmagoon.com. Just my name, Magoon, Scott with two T's, scottmagoon.com. You can find me on Instagram. That's probably my biggest social media outlet, and that's Scorch, Skortch. And but if you go to scottmagoon.com, there are links to all of my social media platforms and just activities for my books, downloadables, teacher's guides up there for several of my book, a couple of my books, I should say. So really a great place to start is just head over to scottmagoon.com and kind of dig in from there. I spend a lot of time sort of curating the site, much like my studio here. I spend a lot of time setting it up and getting ready for visitors. So please check it out.
Yeah. Well, I will make sure to put links to your website and Instagram in the show notes. Of course, links to your brand new book and the others that we talked about as well to make it easy for listeners to get a hold of them. Thank you so
Excellent.
much. This was
You're
such
so
a
welcome. Oh,
conversation.
oh, Stephanie, my pleasure. Keep up the great work. I mean, you're just such a force in nature. You've been doing this for so long with so many wonderful guests and authors and illustrators. I'm honored to be in their number.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. It was such a nice compliment. And
You're welcome.
listeners, thank you for listening to another episode of KidLit Love, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the KidLit Love podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. You'll also find KidLit Love on Substack. That's where you'll find posts for each episode, monthly KidLit roundups, and an invitation to join my summer book club and go deeper into the world of children's literature. And if you loved this podcast and want more, you might like to listen to my other podcast called Get Literate. It's a podcast that explores all things books and reading, notebooks and writing to build a life you love. One more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish community of Kid Lit Love. Thanks for listening.